Good evening. This is the Town of Newfane Selectboard, the regular meeting, and it is Monday, February 4th, 2019, 6 p.m. And I'd like to introduce everybody: Mike Fitzpatrick, Chris Williams, Shelley Huber, Shannon Meckel, Administrative Assistant, and we have Jay Wilson, the Road Foreman. So, first thing is, are there any additions or amendments to the agenda tonight? No. Okay. So we'll move on to the minutes of the January 21st, 2019 regular meeting. If somebody could approve the minutes, please.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh, no. Does anybody want discussion about them? And Chris, you abstain. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes and the minutes are accepted. Next on the agenda is road foreman's and road commissioner's report. Jay, please.
Sure. The roof at the Waynesville Hall was repaired. Since I missed last meeting, I'm kind of lost when, but a few weeks ago they did that. And the biggest portion of the expense was the huge lift that had to come in just to get the guys up there for an hour or two. But they were able to fix it, and hopefully we don't need to do it again for a while. So the plumbing in the pump chamber out here was basically rotted away. So it's been replaced with plastic. And at some point this spring or whenever, the summer, one of the pumps is drawing a lot of amps when it starts. So they said that's a good sign that it's gonna go bad here soon, and they alternate. So at some point we should think about replacing both of them and doing it while it's good weather rather than having it go bad in the middle of the winter. And there's a leak in the cement thing that you see sticking up. There's a leak down underground where the groundwater's been pouring into it, so we have to fix that once warm weather comes. I met with the loss control person from VLCT at the Waynesville Hall. He found a few small things that need to be taken care of, nothing too major. And he thinks we have a good chance to get a grant from them to pay for half the fire alarm for the hall.
That's good.
No.
The new boiler will have to be inspected, and he's got in contact with the guy from Travelers Insurance that comes around and does that. So at some point he'll come and put his tag on it, and that'll be done. The sand and salt budgets are getting down, and we have another 6 weeks of winter potentially. And part of the road safety audit, which we were just speaking about, was changing the signs at the cement bridge in Williamsville. At least I'd like to change the yield sign coming from Williamsville to a stop. And I think you have to go through the whole traffic ordinance
Speakerphone?
to do it.
Hello?
And as soon as the weather is good, I'll have the stop bars painted on the road there, so at least both directions, maybe people will get the idea that they really do have to stop. After meeting at Monroe Bridge, it was determined that the work around the abutments was needed. This will have to be done this summer. It was considered critical. So we'll know more once the ice is gone. They want to go down there and really look at things. And we need to remind everybody that they can't snow blow or plow snow out into the town roads. It causes a lot of problems.
Okay. Any comments? Chris, do you have anything to add?
It's all right there.
Okay.
The only thing I was, I guess, on that stop sign from the Winslow. I mean, if you wanted to put it up, I'd go ahead and put one up, wouldn't you?
Well, we have to
What
change
about
the
the
ordinance, we have to change the
We have to do.
ordinance to do that.
Oh,
There
yeah.
there was a stop sign there at one time.
Yeah, when they did that, they had to amend the traffic ordinance. And then when they decided they wanted to take it off, they had to amend the traffic ordinance again. So each time it took.
Can we make a motion to amend it?
Yep, and then when you do that, it's gonna trigger a hearing process. If we could wait till the next meeting, I'll have a better
Okay.
timeline,
Okay.
because I we'd have to set a hearing and I
Oh,
can't,
wow, okay.
off the top of my head, remember what the timing is.
Mhm.
So we'll have it on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you very much.
Oh, wait, I did have a question.
Oh, okay, sure.
Where's the Monroe Bridge?
You know where Penner Road is?
Penner?
Penner?
No.
About halfway between Dover and South Newfane. So that bridge is kind of on a corner,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Oh, okay, that's what, okay. It's right on
Nobody's rolled over there.
Dover Road then. Okay. Now, is that named because there's a road around it for
The
Monroe?
family that owned the property to the left is Monroe.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. So we are now going to hear Shannon's administrative assistance report. You have that?
The town report is done.
Yay, good for you,
Did
Shannon.
we vote to accept the road commissioner?
Oh, yeah, you can do that first.
Oh, we did not.
I'll make a motion to accept
Thank you, Gary.
the road foreman's and road commissioner's report of February 4th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye, and so it passes. Okay, so Shannon,
That was it. That's my
Well,
report.
say it again.
It's all
Say it
done.
again.
The
It's
town
so
report is done.
yes, that's an amazing job you do every year. Oh my goodness. So did you send it out? How does it work
No,
now?
I sent the printer an email, and then they usually send me a link to upload it, and when I last checked, there was no link yet, so
Uh-huh.
I haven't sent it in yet, but
Wow,
it's done.
you need a Pepsi Cola
Yeah.
to celebrate. There you are.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Anything else to report, Shannon?
No,
You know what, I do have a question
Yeah.
that I forgot. I forgot, did we vote if we are meeting on select board on Monday, the 18th?
You did.
We
vote
did.
to meet.
And we are going to meet?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. I might have written it
That's a
down.
holiday.
I
It is.
know.
What is it?
It's
President's
President's
Day.
Week.
Oh.
Oh,
But
they
we-
still celebrate that? God. No, they really threw that one out too, but yeah.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so we are meeting then. So that's on Monday, the 18th, 6 p.m. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, moving right along, we do not have unscheduled members of the public. And so we now are up to scheduled members of the public.
We don't have it.
We don't have anybody right now.
I did speak with Lynn Forrest from the Planning Commission.
Uh-huh,
She was unable to attend, but asked if I could speak for her,
okay,
so that's okay.
great.
Back in July of 2018, the select board adopted the town plan. This letter requesting Wyndham Regional Commission's review and approval and confirmation needs to be signed so that they can go ahead and do that, which will then trigger, the ability to get
We didn't
grants.
sign at that time?
No, it just came out.
I see.
So,
Oh.
it just says, at its meeting of July 16th, 2018, the Town of Newfane Select Board voted to adopt a new Newfane Town Plan in accordance with 24 VSA Section 4385C. I enclose a copy of the town plan for your records and request Regional Commission review and approval of it and confirmation of Newfane's planning process pursuant to 24 VSA Section 4350. I will forward a copy of the plan to the Commissioner of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Sincerely, Marion Dowling, Select Board Chair.
Okay,
So she was coming to request that the board authorize you to sign.
okay.
So can I ask, is that a plan that's already done? Do we have a copy of it? Because she said.
Yeah, you all adopted it on July 16th, 2018.
So we have a copy of it somewhere?
Yeah, well, I know she handed them out that night, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I have a digital copy if anyone needs
you
one.
probably got one if you were here.
Yeah, I'd like
If
to
you
get
need
it.
one, I'll
Yeah, I'd
send you
like to
another
get a
one.
digital copy.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving along quickly.
Well, if you could, if somebody could make a motion to have you sign that, so it will be in
Can
the
somebody
minutes.
make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
I
Signed it. Okay.
guess.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice.
Why don't we do correspondence while we're waiting to see if Emily comes? Because the last item is the administrative assistance vacancy. And I think we need to wait to see if Emily's coming.
Okay.
Okay?
So just, somebody make a motion to take items out of order. Carrie usually does that at the beginning here.
Okay, so I make a motion to do correspondence.
We have to,
At this
because
time.
out of order. Okay.
Second it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a brochure from VLCT, Town News, and the headline on the front cover asks, is the town subject to gasoline and diesel fuel taxes? Do you happen to know about that?
What is it?
I saw something about
Is a
that.
town subject to gasoline and diesel fuel taxes?
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
Tax exempt.
Yeah, right, because it's a non-profit, like municipality.
Okay, look here. It says Vermont law exempts government agencies from taxes assessed on diesel fuel purchases only. There is no municipal exemption for the gasoline tax or taxes assessed on heating oil purchases. So it sounds like the diesel.
Can you read that again?
Okay, Vermont law exempts governmental agencies from taxes assessed on diesel fuel purchases only. And it tells you the section. And there is no municipal exemption for the gasoline tax or taxes assessed on heating oil purchases.
I guess,
Even if the town deals with a fuel dealer located in a state that exempts municipal purchases of both gasoline and diesel fuel from state taxes, such as New Hampshire and Maine, the Vermont gasoline tax must still be paid to the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles. Municipalities do not lose the money, however, since it comes back to them through the state transportation fund in the form of state aid for highway maintenance. So it comes back.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So,
that would be a
So in other
question.
words, if you're buying it from an out-of-state company, they gotta pay the tax on it no matter what. Just like if we go over to New Hampshire and buy something, they wanna hit us with the tax.
Yep.
But I don't think it works the other way, does it? If we go to New York where you pay a higher tax,
yeah,
they don't give us a refund, do they?
that, I mean, you're welcome to read this. It's just
I
one
would,
short
they're all
page.
trying to get all they can, you know?
Well, I'm assuming that our receipts have the tax on it. So I guess we'd have to take a look at it just to be sure.
Does it, Shannon? You ever notice? When we
It
get
says-
diesel fuel from like barrels and stuff, they charge tax us? The heating oil and stuff?
It says if you
so.
have a specific fuel
No,
tax
diesel.
question, you can contact Montpelier.
So I make a motion that somebody checks into that.
You want to?
Oh, sure. I'll check into it.
Oh, it would be just leave it alone.
Yeah, I'd leave it right
Yeah,
alone.
See what happens.
Well,
I'll
I mean,
look into that.
I know you guys would choose that, but the right thing would be to do what is required.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we wait and maybe Shannon,
Because
you
I can't
know,
imagine, like I said, if it's,
or does
Melissa.
Melissa
I
know?
make a recommendation that Melissa look into
you
it.
don't want to really get nailed by it, don't you?
Well,
As your fuel oil company. I mean,
Yeah.
So you see like our fuel oil company that we buy from for diesel,
Mhm.
if they haven't charged out, they should be the one charging the
Right.
tax and pay the tax to the
Right.
state. And if they're not doing it, holy Christ, I mean, which I don't think, I mean, like I said, it's always been that taxes, your town is tax exempt on everything. For taxes.
But why don't we find out from
So can we
Melissa
make a
first?
motion that Melissa would check it out?
You know, we could have her check into it, but see what she says.
I mean, she can look and see if we get charged, but,
Right. All she's gotta do is look at the pay sign.
Yeah.
right, she's just gotta look at a bill.
In fact, we might have one in this.
Yeah, this pay order here.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the one that really should be charging the tax is the fuel company.
All right.
Okay, anybody else want to discuss this? No. Okay. So, but Shelley made a motion. Does anybody want to second it?
No, he's gonna have, yeah.
Gonna
I'll
have
second it.
Melissa.
Melissa check it
That
out.
Melissa. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you. The next brochure flyer is from EAP, supporting a healthy organization. And this one says, take a break to maximize your creativity. And these are brochures that we get from Vermont League of City and Towns, and we have copies here if anybody would like them. Would you want to give them to your guys of the road crew? You want to give them?
I'll take some over there.
Okay, good. All right.
I have a problem with that.
So that's correspondence. So, well, we're very fast. It's 16 minutes after 6.
Well, let's go get that other one taken care of.
Okay, so do you want to, Shannon? Should we do the administrative assistant vacancy now?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'm going to state that we should have an executive session to deal with this. And so we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss the appointment of an employee in accordance to 1 VSA Section 313, parentheses A Section 3. May I have a motion, please?
So that,
One second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Okay. Okay, it is 10 to 7, and we have just come out of executive session. And the purpose of executive session was to choose somebody who would be appropriate to become the next administrative assistant to the select board at the time that Shannon Meckel leaves in March. So, can somebody make the motion, please?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that, we're gonna be offering the job to Winetta Powell.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or is there, excuse me, any more discussion about this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Nay. So he said aye. So, we have 5 people saying aye to the election of Winetta Powell to become the next administrative assistant. So thank you, everybody. And that's it. Okay, so now we are moving to the next part of our select board meeting, and we have Emily Long here, who is a Vermont State Representative. And welcome.
Thank you.
And it's nice that you came. I know you're very busy, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Oh, it's Joey.
Joe, thank you.
And just for clarity, when I got the email asking to come about legislative stuff, and then I had talked to Shannon a little bit and said,
Yes.
what was it about? And she mentioned some stuff about the West River Board, so I thought
Yes,
he is
that's
definitely
great.
much better suited to answer
Yes.
questions about that.
Okay.
So
Well,
brought
thank
him
you so
along to
much
help
for coming.
move that forward.
Okay.
And I have the report.
Is that the LCT?
What is that?
Yeah,
Does that have to do with?
they send those to us all the
Yeah.
time.
It's,
Mom, League of Cities and Towns does a weekly, I think it's weekly. legislative
yes, it's a
report.
weekly legislative
They
report.
do a fantastic job. Actually, I haven't seen that one, but.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, it is true that we've had some concerns about the school district and the school land. And it has been discussed a few times here, and then Mike and I went to the board meeting at the Newbrook School, and then I went on that Thursday to your meeting at Leland and Gray. And so, do you have anything you'd like to say, Mike?
Well, I guess one other thing we were concerned about was the whole thing by joining the districts and all this stuff is how all the school properties get turned over to the districts. And I don't have so much a problem, I do have a problem with any of it getting turned over, but I don't think the solar field should be turned over to them as a separate piece of parcel that we bought separate from the school. And the town as a whole voted on the solar fields and all this stuff, and now all of a sudden come and find out that it's supposedly going to go to the district, and the district will get the money from the solar grant, and so on and so on. I think that compared to other towns with their school buildings and what they're giving up, actually Newfane's giving up a lot. You know, by doing that with the solar field and that extra piece of land that used to be the Lions Club. I mean, you take like Townsend and them places, their footprint of that building is pretty much the land it sets on. You know, there's no 15, 20 acres of land that goes with it. Jamaica, I don't think it's got much land goes with it. So I just think that, you know, for starters, you know, we want to make sure we end up with the solar fields as a town.
we also have asked the town attorney to review it. And I did do a little research on the Article 7, the Act 46. It does say that in Article 7, Section B, subsequent sale of real property to towns, in the event that at such subsequent time as the Unified District Board of Directors determines in its discretion that continued possession of the real property, including land and buildings, but excluding the land and buildings of the Leland and Gray High School conveyed to it by one or more town forming districts will not be used in direct delivery of the student education programs, the Unified District shall offer for sale such real property to the town in which such real property is located for the sum of $1.
That's
Subject to all encumbrances and record the assumption or payment of all outstanding bonds and notes and the repayment of any school construction aid or grants required by the Vermont law, in addition to the cost of capital improvements subsequent to July 1st, 2019.
So you're reading from, just for clarity, you're reading from the Articles of Agreement. So
Yeah,
that's
Act-
important because it's not Act 46, it's actually the West River Articles of Agreement.
Oh, so there's
That's voted on.
another thing that
The
lays
law
over
is
top.
Act 46.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is the Articles of Agreement that were written in accordance with the law. You have, once you start,
make the
right,
law.
once you start moving forward in Act 46, there are things you need to do, and Articles of Agreement are one.
okay. So you're saying that this should be in the new policy?
No, this is
Unified.
actually what the towns voted on.
Yeah,
The Articles of Agreement are what all 5 towns voted on when
Right.
they voted to join the West River or not join the West
so
River.
I mean, that statement is valid, isn't
So
it?
that statement was put in there for when we are no longer using, we were very concerned that if a town voted to close the school, and that's always a possibility down the road, and I'm speaking now not as a legislator, just as a board member, and Joe can jump in because he's chair of the board, but if we're no longer using a building for education
Yeah,
purposes,
building or land.
that's what that was, right, or
Yeah.
that was what that was written in there for.
Yeah.
So in case there was ever a time when we were going to close a building and not use it for educational purposes, building and or land, then this was the process you go through to.
And that was part of the vote.
Well, my understanding
That's
is,
fine.
you know, by reading this, it could be building or lands, or
Sure.
both. So if you're not using the solar fields for direct student education, and you're not using the other land that was where the pavilion is for direct student education, that property, it looks like, could be sold off at $1
Right,
back
if
to the town.
we decided we weren't going to use that,
Right.
that's exactly the process we
Exactly.
would go through.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, so at this point in time, it's still being used, and actually, just for clarity around the solar fields, the solar field, that is all, that the benefit to that is actually going to the school districts. You can speak more to this. It's not to our taxpayers specifically, it's, the credits are being sold to multiple districts around.
I
yeah,
believe all the member districts of Leland and Gray.
And more, maybe.
And maybe even more, but I know all the Leland and Gray sending towns districts, we all have a piece of those electric credits.
Right.
When that was part of the deal when Newbrook joint contract put that solar field up, they came around to everyone and asked if we wanted to get into
Is it
that.
only to the school districts?
Yes,
Yes,
I believe so.
I believe so.
Yep.
Right.
Since you were good enough to come here, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you explain to us things that we're not clear about, that like what Mike was asking and what Emily said, that you're the person who might be able to explain in a better way? Because we're all a little confused by this, or at least I am.
Well, the merger, every school, you know, without really paying attention to who had what in the equation, every school just combined all their
Assets.
every school district combined their assets and their liabilities. You know, so now the bonds get shared out over a bigger piece, as do the you know the buildings and land.
So the costs that Newfane incurred, which is part of their debt, has also been absorbed by the other communities. So that's important to know as well.
Right.
Actually, Jamaica and Townsend do not have any debt.
Oh,
We didn't absorb any debt from them. I understand that maybe they don't have a larger chunk of land, but they certainly didn't have any debt. They are now absorbing the debt from the Newbrook School, which we did still have a debt, and some of that was about the solar field. So now it's not just Newfane voters paying on that, it's actually the West River District, which includes the 4 towns.
right. Equally, or proportionally.
Proportion.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they say Newfane's part was gonna be like 40%?
Newfane
we're larger.
it's only based on size, and
Right,
Newfane's
so
a little
it's like
larger, so.
40%, right?
Yep, I don't know what the percentage is, I
I
can't
know the
confirm
kind of
that.
solar panels, I know the towns did all get, you know, the benefits by the electric.
Yeah.
But there was also supposedly, from what we was told, there's 26,000. I guess, and so that goes to the district.
That's the district,
Yes.
that's just
See,
part
that's
of the
another thing I
school.
can't figure out. When we voted on the solar panels, we voted a year before it was joined to the district. How they got switched from the town of Newfane into the school district is what I.
So
when
that
we
was part
voted
of
on
the
this.
joint contract board.
Right.
You know, I believe, you need to talk to
The attorney.
and in fact, those who were on the Newbrook board at the
Right.
time, but they had a joint contract board. The decision that was made for the districts to merge, all the articles of agreement were very clear on what happens to property. And so, you know, voters voted to do that. And, you know, if there's some concern about the decisions that the voters made, well, then the voters can be re-asked, I guess.
I mean,
But
right
at
now-
this point in time, it's not any different
But
than any
I
other.
think, my understanding from reading the newspapers and hearing the news online and everything, that there's a big upset about this, and there are many towns in Vermont who are hiring their own attorneys and to dispute this.
I haven't heard
Correct?
anything
The
about
whole
that.
Act 46 and about taking the land.
So I think what you're referring to is not specifically this. I think what you're talking about are the towns that were forced to merge during the final plan
Yes,
of Act
but
46.
it also stated in the newspaper, and I might have brought
Debt-
that up.
debt
on
is an
Leland
issue.
Gray, that they are saying that it's actually, I mean, this group, this large group throughout the state of Vermont who are going to Montpelier to dispute this, they're also claiming that taking the land is illegal. So that's another thing.
And that
I mean,
could
that's
be-
been in the newspaper.
That could-
so I'm
yeah.
asking
There's-
about
there's-
it.
So we know.
There's a
that's
really
true.
interesting opinion about that I read,
Yeah.
legal opinion about the constitutionality of it and that it's absolutely constitutional and, you know, that was in the motion to dismiss the lawsuit out of hand as basically frivolous. But I mean, that's all the towns that were, like Emily said, the towns that were in the final analysis merged when they didn't want to be, you know, Wyndham being one of them, because I know they're a party to that lawsuit. And they're just going to exercise their right to have this, you know, adjudicated, and we'll see what happens. But I haven't heard of anyone hiring an attorney for any purpose to argue with Act 46 other than that forced merger piece. I haven't heard, you know,
I will
an
say,
issue of
There was-
land or something.
there were some communities who did choose to turn over some school property to the town.
Yes.
And Putney's one of them because they have a
Yes.
large tract of land in the Putney Town Forest, which used to be but that was never something that came up. No community members ever asked for that, and I don't remember, I wasn't on the
You're
board.
saying as far as Newfane, that didn't ever come up.
I mean, I wasn't on the Newfane board at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I never heard, they never brought that as an issue to us.
Well,
at the-
I guess by
West River
me
District.
reading that information, if we made a request from the town to the school board to ask for review of a section of the land, you know, for instance, there was land that was added on and was the former Valley Lions Club
Right.
property with the pavilion and woodlands or trails or whatever. I think our concern as a community is that the kids would still have, or even non-kids, public, would be allowed to go onto that property and to use it recreationally. There's not a lot going on, and we don't want to be told, oh, you can't be on it because it's the school district property.
So that's always been true, that hasn't ever changed. I mean, I think it's up to every building to set up and board to set up their policies around how land is used in a community. I don't know what Newfane and Newbrook board did around the use of that property, but you know, that's something you take up with the board and just say, you know, if the community's unhappy that they're not having access to property, the first place you should go is to the school and say to the principal, what's the policy around
But who,
use of land?
but do they have the right, if they're going under this union, to make a decision like that? Or would we have to go to the district for that?
So the district is the West River Board after July 1st.
Right. So after July 1st, we would have to go to the district to ask these questions.
The West River Board the West River District becomes operational July 1st. Up to that point, Newfane School District is who you would go to on that.
But after that point, it's going to be the West River Unified
Yep,
Modified School
Right.
District.
Yeah, we just took an extra year to become operational. We, as a study committee and the whole work on it, we decided that because there was a lot of work that needed to be done prior to actually finishing our merger, we gave ourselves an extra year so we could really plan on what we wanted our district to look like. So that's why we're not operational until July 1st.
But I think even with any of this, you would still start with the building principal.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to go directly to the board to
No.
voice that. You would start with the building principal, and then based on the response of the building principal to the concerns of the community, then the
Up
next.
until July 1st.
No, even after that.
even
Oh,
after
after
July
July
1st. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the
they
building
gonna
principal
go
has
off
control
property?
over that land.
I see. Oh, the
As part of their
principal
The
job.
principal is the one who
Yeah.
will control the use, the building use.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
so that's something
But-
we're clear about now. The principal is in charge of the use of the land.
Unless the board has specific policies around use of land. So that's something you just need to look
Yeah,
at. And
so
we're
that-
still developing our policies at West River, but I know they have policies like that at Newfane. Newbrook has policies up until July 1st, but yeah.
Up until.
To implement those policies and to oversee the use of the land, that would be up to the principal.
to implement the policies that are decided upon by the West River? Or,
After July 1st.
yes, after
It'll
July
be the
1st?
West River.
Yeah.
Up to July 1st, it'll be the Newbrook.
Right, but we're more concerned about after.
Okay, so after it'll be West River.
Yeah.
Because
So,
the Newbrook board won't ever exist after that.
Right.
Neither will Newfane or
Right.
Alpine County.
but the
boards.
board policies, do you know whether or not they're gonna be making new policies or that
Mhm.
they will be making new policies?
We have been, you can speak better to that, but we have a policy committee and we're developing policies. That's part of the process of the year implementation. So we have a committee, actually Ken McFadden is the chair of the subcommittee that's working on policies. And I don't know, do you know whether they've been working on building use or anything
We
like that
have
yet?
not gotten to building use yet.
But they're still working on it.
You know, there are sort of the state required policies, and we've gone through and adopted all of those, and we've just started reviewing the other policies that exist.
Does
and-
any of those policies pertain to the use of the land?
I
We
honestly
haven't gotten to
don't
that
know.
point, I think, with what
I mean,
you-
there's
You could ask Newbrook if they have policies like
Yeah.
that.
That we should go, that we can go to the principal and ask.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, up until July 1st.
Right. No, but they
Well, no,
also
you
said
should
they
do
haven't
that
made
now.
up the policies.
Because we haven't written.
It's confusing.
and as a West River board, we're not looking to change much.
Okay,
In terms
that's
of
what I'm kind
policy.
of
No,
trying to get from
We're
you.
looking at the existing policies and saying, do these make sense and do they need to be modified now because there's a larger governing body? But we're not looking to like change the way things have been run or,
No.
you know, make change just for change's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the existing policies are fine, they just need to be modified so that they can be a little more adapted because now there's, you know, right now there may be a much different policy in Townsend than there is in
Yeah,
Newbrook.
right.
We're gonna try and make that policy so that it works for the entire
Yeah.
district, for the merged district, but still allows everybody to do what they've been doing all along.
Joe, I have a question then. Who will be the board or the group of people to maintain the school property after July 1st?
The West River,
To pay for snow.
the West River Board,
The
the West River District, right,
Not the town.
correct. It should be the Newbrook Board now. And I understand the town is actually doing some, and then actually that shouldn't be that way. It should
Right.
just be the board should
I don't know,
actually
Chris,
contracting.
Right, the town's always.
Always done, always has
The
done that.
town has always done it. I
He's the
remember
road
certainly
commissioner.
when I
And it
was-
actually shouldn't be that way, but, you know.
I mean,
and
the town can
once
still do, but
pay-
we should be paying.
We should be paying the town.
Right, because you can see the real cost of operation.
Exactly.
Yeah, like on the school debt, and we said the debt and stuff, right now, like Jamaica didn't even absorb any of our debt because they're not joining until July, right?
July 1st is when
Right.
they absorb it.
So when we was down there, they said that would all be paid for this year.
I don't know about their debt, but I just know they had debt. When we voted on that.
So I mean,
there
actually,
was
so I
debt.
mean, like I said, with the solar field, you figure it up over a 20-year period, that's $400 and some odd $1,000 that's going, the Newfane's paying to that district. So instead of debt, we're actually coming with an asset to them. By that solar field going to them. Because it's like, it's $26,000 a year, so in 10 years, that's $260,000 and $520,000 after 20 years. And that's it. So I mean, we're actually coming in with a $500,000 asset by letting them have that.
So we did building audits and, you know, we know how much the value of each property was. That was all part of the discussion during the decision, you know, during the conversations leading up to the decision to vote to merge, which are all of our communities did. Every community came with assets and
It's all
liabilities.
listed, I saw, it's
Yeah.
all listed.
Yeah, it's all in
itemized.
there, and
Yeah.
so that was part of the law, you had to actually do that, so,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't like there was anything hidden.
No.
I will tell you that, and I can only speak from the perspective of the study committee, because I was on the study committee during that time. You chaired it, so you can maybe speak to it better, but, we really tried to set aside, just like we did with Leland Gray, we tried to set aside, oh, you know, you're this, you're that. One of the reasons why we did that is because as we were looking at debt, we started to realize that while Newbrook had a certain level of debt and the other towns didn't have any debt, when we started to do building audits and actually engineering audits and actually started to look at what the cost would be, Newbrook's got the building down here has some significant needs and costs. And they're going to come, we didn't know that until we did the building engineer audits, and so we were kind of surprised because Newbrook was the one who came in with the debt, and actually, they're gonna have to have more debt. We realized that there was
No.
some work.
Structural
all
prob-
of the-
structural?
Yes.
I don't know if it was, how structural it was. There's, you can see it,
HVAC?
it's in our.
It's in that report?
It's in the, no, it's not in the report, it's in, it's probably posted on our website somewhere, you can get it from the board member. But we have a
Yeah,
document that shows
Because that
what
would
the
be,
costs were for every building, not just
right,
Newfane.
because that would be interesting for Newfane community to understand.
Yeah, sure, they can see any of that, that's all
Yeah.
public record, so.
Now, do you think the school tax ever gonna go down in these towns? I
Well,
mean, it's
so-
supposed to be going up 10% this year, right?
So,
I mean, so
First-
it's jumping,
first-
you know, I mean, that's was one of the things this whole merger was supposed to be taking place, was it's gonna make it cheaper for
Well,
the towns, right?
cost
too?
per pupil has gone up.
Wait a minute, let him finish, please.
No, so I'm just saying, I mean, is it gonna keep going every year, you think, or what? I mean,
the boards develop budgets based on, just like they always do. But I will tell you, once the district becomes operational July 1st, there are 4 years of tax incentives, and the first year is 8
Right.
cents, 8, 6, 4, and 2. So there will be a reduction in tax rates for the first 4 years, and they gradually go off. That was intended in the law to allow districts those years to be able to fully realize the operational efficiencies within a merged district. And so that's why they gradually go down until you finally realize the operational efficiencies. Just this year, while our budget isn't going down, part of it is Leland Gray needs a new furnace. But we were able to cut one principal to half-time because of work we've done. And so there are beginning steps being done already on trying to increase opportunities at the same time reduce our spending, because obviously you're not alone in that. And one of the reasons why we moved forward with the merger was because our individual school districts were really struggling to be able to continue our programming with the declining enrollment, because with declining enrollment, costs go up.
Right.
well,
So,
the way I look at this whole thing anyways, I know it's all coming, this whole merger thing. I mean, it has for years. I mean, when our parents were here, I mean, there was 6 school buildings in each town, they kept going down until they finally got one. And it's gone that way, transportation's better, so it happens. But you just said it too, like, you got buildings that are deteriorating, right?
Uh-huh.
So say if Newfane or Jamaica or one of them, all of a sudden that building looks like, well, correct, it's gonna cost
Right.
$10 million to go through this building, or $5 million to redo it. Are they gonna look at it at that point and say, we only really need 3 buildings anyways?
Mm-hmm.
it's very possible.
I mean, that's what I see it coming to.
But it'll be a vote of the community that decides that, because
Right,
the
right.
articles of agreement say that if you're going to close the school, the vote of the community has to take
Yeah, I
place
know,
to
right,
support it.
right. So, but that's what I say, what it looks to me like there's only gonna be 3 buildings eventually. That's what it's kind of looking down the line, it's, because you got, your preschools through summer 8th grade, you got that till 5th grade, and then there's 6th grade, and then 6th grade through 12th grade. So you got the 3 units, and I mean, so somebody's gonna be closing buildings. So if this one's gonna cost you 10 million, this one's only gonna cost 2 million to upgrade it, is that what it's gonna have to break to make your taxes lower?
That's what happened in our community in upstate New York. We started out with 3 buildings and ended up with 2 right now. So,
So just remember, the West River, and I'll speak as a school board member right now, West River Board represents all the communities just like you do. So we're sitting, he represents Townsend, but I represent Newfane, and I hear you as a board member. I mean, I'm no different than you are representing your community members, so am I. I'm trying to find a path forward to be able to be more efficient, but be able to offer quality education for our kids. Nothing's really changed under this merger for that. I mean, we're still trying to figure out a way to do this, but if sometime down the road there's a decision to reduce the number of buildings or anything, that will be, decided by those communities, not.
And like I said, I don't think I have that so much of the merger down here. Not so much of the building, because like I said, you're supposed to get it back for $1 later on down the line. If we would do that, is that I have the problem, that extra piece of property, I mean, I don't even have so much of a problem as letting them have the damn rent, from the 26,000 going towards it, But I think the town should have control of the property. That's a pretty good asset, piece of property for the town too, you know?
Well, the town is represented by members of the on the board from Newfane, so we just look at it as expanded beyond just like Leland and Gray. We as residents have a say in what happens at Leland and Gray as well. I will say though, the solar field, I think an awful lot of that is on the original property, if not all of it, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't.
I think a majority of it is, and there's a portion on the Valley Lions.
Yeah, there might be a strip down on the back side of it, because I know they had to cut some trees down in there and stuff when they put it in, but it's not all on the new property. It's the bulk of it's on the original land. It was honestly, your questions never came up during
Wow.
the process. Do you remember? I
No,
remember
no one
every
ever
process.
Well, as I said, right to this day, when you bring it up like that, they include, no one had a clue that was going to it.
Well, I don't think it was that, I mean, we were very clear about what happens with the property, but no one ever said, well, wait a minute, this is land that was bought separately. No one ever brought that up to us, that, in the way you're bringing it up.
So like the Leland Gray's all part of the district and everything, so like, so that property they own in Stratton, now that goes to all the towns.
As it did before anyway. I mean, because all those towns are members of Leland and Gray anyway, so all the towns own that Somerset property.
Right.
Yeah, because they're all part of the Leland and Gray district, and Leland and Gray is part of the West River district now. Yeah.
Excuse me, Shannon, you had spoken to the town attorney, but do you happen to know if they've contacted the other attorney?
I don't, there was an email that came in from him like 10 minutes before the start of the meeting.
Oh.
And I don't know what it says, so.
Because that would be good, because that was what you suggested at the meeting. And when we did follow through and have Shannon call our town attorney. Do you happen to know if they've spoken?
I don't know if they've reached out to our attorney. I know they've asked us for some documents, which we've provided.
Okay.
And you know, we're letting them work through the process. I haven't heard from our attorney, and I don't know if the attorneys have actually spoken.
And one other thing too is, do you think the state's going to try to take more control of this too? Like I've been hearing something about that they're trying to make it more like there's only 1 or 2 districts throughout the state.
So now you're going to ask me as a legislator, right? Because I just for clarity, I'm not on the Ed committee anymore, but I'm certainly aware of all that. And there was what they are now calling a white paper that came out of the Agency of Education that had some plans for what we could do in the state of Vermont as far as governance. And what part of that was for a single school district that would have regional. I can't give you all the details of it, but it's available.
It was the Vermont State of Education. Yeah, I read it.
Yeah, and it was quite detailed about, you know, plans sort of it felt to me as a local person who's been very committed to public education the whole my life. I mean, I went to Newfane and Leland Gray, as many of you know. It's very important to me to make sure that we have our very strong quality community schools. I worry very much about going in that direction, but as soon as that came out, they seemed to take a little bit of a back step and
I
said,
almost wonder if Act 46 was a part of their plan.
No, this is a new governor.
You know, the local school board, so now you're only dealing with one board. You know, you get 3 or 4 different towns, 5, 6 towns, they start merging. So they've done away with all your local school boards, and next thing you know, you got one town now, we're dealing with this district, that district, pretty quick, and now narrow it down to.
So having been on the board of the Education Committee when we wrote Act 46, that was never the intention. And of course, that was written under a different governor. And this has come out of a secretary that works under a different governor.
Yeah.
So that was never part of the plan of Act 46. I mean, I will tell you though, the challenges that created Act 46 and the bills that were proposed prior to Act 46, I mean 153, 156, and 883 was a bill that never passed both buildings that passed the House. Then Act 46 came. They were all related to governance, and they were all related to the fact that our enrollments were declining significantly, and with the decline in enrollments, costs were going up, so our schools were not able to provide as many opportunities as they needed to provide. for our students. And those conversations drove much of those pieces of legislation. I think maybe this secretary put that out thinking along those same lines, because when I sat up there listening to the briefing from Joint Fiscal Office this year, we did see again continued decline in enrollment in the state of Vermont. And this is in respect to the national trend of folks not actually raising their kids as frequently in rural areas. Yeah, and so Vermont, being as rural as it is, has really felt the brunt of that. I will tell you, Massachusetts, I've talked to school board members down in Massachusetts, and you know, there's a lot of population in the eastern part of Massachusetts, but western Massachusetts has been running into some of the very same issues we've been running into. Yeah, and I mean, it's just rural. It's a trend. I think that trend will change down the road at some point. I also know that our birth rate is very low in Vermont, and that's a concern. I think our governor and legislature are working really hard trying to figure out ways we can mitigate that and build our workforce and build our economy to encourage people to come here. But you know, there are a lot of things that play into that. Childcare and the cost of it and the availability of it is one of them. It's hard to raise your family in a state where you can't find quality and affordable childcare. So, you know, that's one of the things that we're trying to work on. There are many other avenues that we're working on. And housing is huge. It is absolutely huge. And it's a real challenge. And businesses are telling us all the time.
Yeah.
We have 30 places, the positions that are open, and we need housing for the folks that we need to hire, and we don't have housing. So we did pass some housing legislation last year. I know the governor's focused on it again this year, and so is the legislature. We'll see. I'm now sitting on the General Housing and Military Affairs Committee, and we're just starting to take testimony around what can we do about housing. So it's been a challenge.
Yeah,
Chittenden County's still growing.
One of the things I see is that I don't care about the whole state thing. You know, I'm talking to you as a legislator, and I'm not kidding. You know?
No, I hear you.
It looks like everything from goddamn Montpelier north is a boomtown. I mean, they sink all their money north down here. I said, well, we ought to just cut Windham County off at that, so that's no longer state of Vermont. We'll worry about ourselves, you know.
Ask the Northeast Kingdom if they feel that way.
Yeah.
No, they're getting their share too, you know. I mean, but I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's just like the other day. Like I said, I watched the Chronicle the other day and see your husband on there, right?
Thank you.
And I thought that was great. And I said, it's goddamn funny. A station out in Massachusetts has got to advertise the state of Vermont. You know, I'm glad they did because it brings tourists up. But why isn't this state sinking in some money to advertise our state more, to bring out and show them what we've got around locally? You don't ever hear nothing about Mount Snow, Stratton, Keimo, Killington, and all that. You hear about the J Peak up on top and everything up above Burlington and around. I mean, the Channel 3 News, it might as well just be dealing on Burlington. Only the other time they say anything down here if it's something bad, you know.
So you have legislators down here who are fighting all the time to get the attention put on Windham County and Bennington County as well. And
Right.
we're actually
States.
working
Pretty much from Rutland down.
Yeah, and we're working very hard, connected with Bennington County to find paths forward with the issues that you're talking about. We as a delegation are now starting to meet, our Windham County legislative delegation, that includes our senators. We're starting to meet regularly up there to have these conversations. In fact, we have a meeting this week to talk about it. How can we be more strategic in our voice to get the attention paid to Southern Vermont? Now, I will tell you, you know, I grew up here. This is nothing different than what it's always been. When the southern part, they always call us the banana belt. I'm always up there fighting for attention to Windham County, but we're not a banana belt, and we are a big part of Vermont, and we want to be heard. So we're making a huge effort to get the attention put on us. We felt that if we could connect as a delegation, we'd have a more powerful voice in that, and I think that's true.
Yeah,
I think we will. And so we're trying to get attention paid. I mean, there's several of us who are in leadership. Tristan Tolino and I are both assistant majority leaders in the House, and Becca Balance, the majority leader in the Senate. We're all from Windham County. That's important. Mm-hmm. And we've been elected by our caucuses, and I think we are going to continue to try to work on ways to bring attention to the very unique issues that you're describing well about Southern Vermont. I will tell you, Chittenden County has always had a pretty strong economy They have challenges too, like everyone, and they're not all Burlington. But we are noticing in some of the demographic maps that we're looking at, Franklin County is starting to get a little more attention. Lamoille, Addison, the spread is happening out of Chittenden County into a wider region where population's growing a little bit. People are moving outside of Chittenden County to work in Chittenden County, that kind of thing. So you're right, it's a pretty strong force. On the other hand, I'm really grateful we have them. You know, we need them up there. Northeast Kingdom is, and I spent 10 years, Chris knows this, living up in the Northeast Kingdom, and that's pretty repressed economy up there. And they struggle in the same way we struggle trying to get attention paid to the rural parts of Vermont. So the new term we're using all the time, and we are continuing, you've heard the governor use it, we use it in the legislature, our rural economy. We need to be focusing on our rural economy. We'll continue to focus on that.
Well, I mean, we have a large contingency of artists down here in southern Vermont, and I came from Saratoga Springs and was part of the Arts Council and the rejuvenation of Saratoga Springs, and worked in the convention business there. And we overbuilt, I think, really Saratoga, and it missed, you know, a lot of residents felt misplaced, you know, with new people coming in. It's a hard balance because you could make that machine go really well, but you know, there's just getting the arts together would be a great boon, I think, and a great start. Recreation, people come here all the time for recreation, and having, you know, in Newfane, we're coming out of Brattleboro, so we're the first town going north. And I think for the town, I'd like to be able to do more economic development and look at housing options, affordable housing.
Transportation's a big piece
Yeah.
of that in rural economy.
Yeah. So,
So you gotta create jobs too, you know, I mean,
Yes, we do.
and the whole thing
Right.
is, I mean, this state is just not very job friendly, you know, I mean, this Act 250 thing we got kicking around is ridiculous.
So you know that we're reviewing that right now. Are you aware of that? Because we are reviewing it, and there was a summer-long study with meetings held all over the state about Act 250, and they're coming out with recommendations, and legislation should start happening. Follow that if you're interested, to try to what I'm hearing about the recommendations are trying to ease some of the challenges around development in our towns, and yet still try to maintain our rural nature and our culture here, because that is really why people come to Vermont.
Right.
We do want people to come to Vermont, so we don't want to lose the culture of Vermont. But you're right. It's been identified.
I'd love to hear more about the Act 250 stuff and stuff, because I mean, it's expensive. I mean, I got ideas
Absolutely.
that I've tried to deal with the governor on it and stuff.
I hear you.
I mean, I'd like to get hooked up in some of the boards if I could sometime on.
So I'll send you I mean, I can get from Shannon your email or whatever. I can send you the board if you want. There's a study that came out, and I can send you that report if you haven't seen it
Yeah,
already. I'd be
definitely.
happy to send that to you. And then, you know, as we move forward with legislation, I think it's coming out of the Natural Resources Committee, and I'm not on that, but I can check in and see where they are on that and find out, because there is going to be some modifications they're trying to. I mean, it's been a long time since we've modified Act 250, so it's time to be looking at and seeing if it's working right for the state as we are today.
And I appreciate you coming tonight, you know, as both the school board and the legislature. Yeah, it'd be nice, you know, maybe just a couple times a year or something, or whatever. Whenever you had a chance here in Fremont, I was busy with
I'm
everywhere
here
else.
whenever you want me, on Monday night especially, in the wintertime. I'm happy to come. Just invite me. I am very cautious about asserting myself into select boards and, you know, in each of my communities that I represent. But I'm always available. If you have some questions, just ask me to come. I'll come on a regular basis. You say pick the months, and
Mike had actually mentioned a few weeks ago that he thought it would be really great if you could come to meetings throughout the year, you know,
Yeah, I'm happy.
when you're available.
Oh,
Because
well, I just don't want to be blindsided by the state with this.
no, absolutely, and we can learn.
even if I
a lot.
come, you might end up being blindsided, but
That's exactly.
I do my best.
No,
you know,
thank
let
you.
me know whenever
Yeah.
you want me to come. If you have some issue, you know, and you want me to pop in, especially if you're meeting on Monday nights, I'm up there. I'll stay here sometimes late on a Monday, and I'm happy to do Monday night meetings. When I'm not in the legislature, whatever night, you know, I can.
We know and very much appreciate that both of you came here tonight, and it's something
Yeah.
that Mike had brought up several weeks ago, and so we thank you so much for taking out your time.
I
Both of
dragged
you.
him because
And
I really
Joe.
wanted. I knew he was more up to date on what was going on with the
No,
property stuff, and
but
so
thank you, Joe, very much.
yeah.
And,
So- Just let me know whenever you need me. I'll
Okay.
send you that Act 250 study that came out, and we'll stay in touch about. And if you have specific questions, feel free to email them to me too. You know,
That
and
would be great.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I know there are some some select boards would rather not see their legislators, but if you want to see
no,
me,
I think
I
we-
am thrilled to come.
No,
We need to
and
know what's
we
going
appreciate
on.
it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I feel it's really important to me to know what's going on in my
Exactly.
communities too. I do, I am showing up on, I think it's the third Saturday at 11 o'clock at the More Free Library. I go there and just am available for anybody who wants to come ask me questions or share thoughts with me. So I do that there. I'm trying to work it out in Marlboro to find a weekend or whatever to go and show up there too as well, so that people, Townsend hasn't asked me yet to do it, but the More Free Library, the librarian asked if I wanted to do it. I was thrilled.
Yeah.
No,
Because I like to be able to be there.
Erica has written out,
She's great.
isn't she great? She's
Yeah.
a new librarian in town, and she has made a list of monthly activities that are
Mhm.
going on there, and it's great.
It is, and you know, I've had people come asking me about specific issues that they have, and that's been great. I've been able to
Yes.
help folks and inform people, so that's another opportunity too. So,
Thank you.
thank you
so
too.
much.
I really appreciate the invitation
Thank
and the opportunity to talk.
And-
Just let me know.
Sorry that we had to wait, but we were in the middle of executive session.
There's no one more than Joe and I who understand about
Yeah.
executive session.
Okay.
Appreciate
Drive
it.
You can
carefully.
also email questions to me. I mean, factual stuff like we were talking about tonight,
Yeah.
I can answer.
Right.
You know, board decisions, obviously we have to be, you know,
Yes.
at a meeting, but factual, you know, issues like that, and as you have questions, if I don't know the answer or can't find you the answer, or, you know, we can work on it. So, you know, feel free to
Yeah, we
email
would
me
love to
too.
really have more contact with the
That'd be
school
great.
boards, and I think that would be great, right?
That'd be great.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And go home.
Good.
That was very good, Mike and everybody. Thank you for input.
Yeah.
So I guess we're up to pay orders.
Okay. Are we? Okay, so we are now up to pay orders. It is 7:35, and we wish everybody a good evening and a safe time in the ice and winter, and it is warmer today, but take good care. Thank you.